Yo, it's Guido coming at you with a quick tip, and I got a little note, an email from Renee, and he said, "Sorry for my poor English. I'm Dutch." Well, first of all, no sorry. I can't speak anything else or write it, so you're well ahead of me, my friend. Says he's a noob and he has a question about how tanks turn because he's running his Semovente. I have my Semovente M41 right here, and we are on Malinovka. I'm loaded in with my deputy account, so we can kind of take a look at this in a training room. And I happen to have a Manticore across in one of the bushes over there. All right, so I'm bushed up in my little TD. I'm sitting right here in this bush, ready to shoot somebody. The tanks turn a couple different ways. All right. The first one is one track goes forward and one track goes backwards. Now that's spinning. All right, so this track would be going forward, that track would be going backwards, and the tank would spin around. All right. The other way is one track slows down, and the other one keeps going. And this is how it works when it actually travels forward as well. As you're going forward, and if I'm going to turn this way, then this right track, this track over here, would slow down, drag a little bit, the left track would pull it, and it would turn. Same thing happens if you spin around. Now, what Renee was running into, and he thought it might be a bug or a problem, is his Semovente was creeping forward every time he moved. And it's particularly bad in casemate TDs, because a casemate, just pretend this doesn't even have a turret, a casemate has to turn its whole hull to shoot. There is some capability for field of regard with the gun, depending on how much azimuth it has. But generally, if you need to make a big movement, the entire hull is going to move. What that requires is the tracks to move. Now, the Semovente is one of those dragging tanks. So all it does, and we're going to back this thing up. We'll take a look at it. So both tracks are moving as it goes. All right. Now, if I want to go right, watch what happens to the right track here. I'm going to turn right. It doesn't move. Now if I go the other way, this time I want to go to the left. The left track doesn't move. And if we look over here, the right track is spinning. Left track is spinning. So this is a dragger. Again, they've got that mech. You can see that, how it happens. Every time it turns the other, and watch what it's doing. It's just creeping forward. So what he said is after 2 or 3 turns, the thing would be creeping forward. Now here's the problem with that, right? If I come up here, now there's an entire video of looking at things like this and shooting them so that the camo in front of you is dark, you can't see through it, and in theory you shouldn't be seen. There's some things that can kind of help out with that. It depends on the bush. There's some other things going on there, but generally this is the best way to do it. However, if you're up here in the bush because you want to see what you're shooting at, there happens to be a Manticore in that bush right there. That's where I have placed it. If you're close to that bush and you're sitting here, now watch what happens if, say I have multiple targets. I've got some targets off to the left, some targets off to the right, and I want to go, I'm looking at them like, I want to go, oh, there's someone there to shoot. Okay, oh, yep, there's somebody there to shoot, and oh geez, I got to look over here, and I got to look over here, and now I'm looking at my other screen over here. He's spotted. And where are we? We've stuck out. So if we back up, let's see what this looks like. As I'm looking right and left, trying to figure out targets, I do a little right, I do a little left. Oops, I gotta go back right. Oh, maybe further right. Go over to the left. Oh, what's that over there? Looking for that guy. Oh, back over here. Back over. See how it just creeps forward? And the danger, of course, is now I have gone outside of the bush. I'm spotted by the Manticore over here, and he pops me. That is not every tank. What I don't know about how the developers have built this is whether they simply have analog dragging, or the other version, which is either it slows down a little bit or one track reverses and the other one goes forward, in which case it would spin in place. Now I'm going to go grab a tank that does that. Hold on. Okay, second example is the Manticore, and I happen to know this because I play this tank a lot, and it's very important also for light tanks. Now it's important for every tank to kind of understand that, but TDs, if you get crawling out of your spot, that's a bummer. And it's really painful sometimes if say you're using a stirb or something and you're on some weird terrain. You can really just kind of crawl out of the position you're trying to be on. This is a very flat example right here. But let's take a look at the Manticore, because I'm just going to turn left and watch what it does. It goes nowhere. So you do have to be aware of, say, you come into a bush like this and you start turning. You may stick your butt out the side of the bush, right? Whereas you were more or less covered here, unless obviously they're off to your right, but as you spin, your butt's sticking out. So you do have to be careful with that. But if you're in a bush just hanging out right here, and you're in the Manticore and you spin, other than your hull kind of poking out at times, you don't go anywhere. You don't crawl forward. I can spin any direction that I want, and it's no problem. And just what that looks like is, you take a look at the tracks, we spin right, left track is going forward, right track's going back, so the graphics are actually there. Now I'm going to go left, the left track's going forward, and over here the right track is going backwards. So that's the difference between the two ways. Like I said earlier, I don't really know if Wargaming has gone to the historical depth of some of them are reversers, some of them are draggers, some of them are partial draggers, some of them slow a track, some of them speed up. You know, there's multiple ways that can happen. But in terms of gameplay, you basically more or less have two kinds. It may vary on how much they crawl forward, but you either have the spinny guy like this, or you've got the Semavente version where it crawls forward as you move. So there's your quick tip for the day. Be careful with which one of those you have. I hope that answers your question, Renee. I don't believe it's a game problem based on the tank you said and what you told me it was doing. It sounds like it's according to the way the game is mech'd and that tank was designed. So when it tries to go forward, it only moves one track, and you can see that as you do that, it can get you outside of the bush that you wanted to be in. So what that requires you to do is, as you're in here, now I'm not in the Semavente anymore, but let's get spun around so I'm actually going forward. As you're in the bush and you're paying attention and you shift a couple times, come back and go, ooh, I'm creeping forward, and then back out again. And you just takes a little bit more care. That's all I've got for today, guys, on today's quick tip. Let me know what you think down below if you have any more info on that. I know I have some tankers out there who can probably expand on how that works and why it works that way and all that good stuff. That's all I've got. We will see ya. All right, bonus example, because I was thinking about the scouts that are draggers. This is an AMX 1390. The French light tanks are notorious for this. They are the dragging kind of tank when you spin around. Say you get in a bush like this, and right over here is the Manticore on the other team, and you go, ooh, I want to spin right a little bit and get ready. Maybe I want to spin around and turn my hull that way so I can get ready to run away. And I go, well, let me just spin in this bush. Boom. So I've just crawled right out of that bush. So when you're messing with these dudes, you got to do something like, all right, I'm in this bush, I need to back up, boom, a little bit backwards, a little bit of a turn. See how kind of fiddly it is? And I've pretty well practiced with that. I can kind of rock back and forth and get it where I want to be. But if you just go, hey, I'm just going to spin to the right, and now you're stuck out of the bush. Just like that. All right, bonus footage. There you go. Have a good one, guys.